first time in the city, but I wish that I was home. These crowded streets can't keep me from feeling alone. And I thought that I was...
Seattle was kind of a tough song to write. My grandmother passed away last year. It's kind of the way it all went down was kind of not like the best case scenario. You know, her health had been declining, and I was getting ready to travel to Alaska with a group I work with a lot called Far Flung Tin Can. Right before I left, my grandmother fell. She was, 90 years old, and when you fall at that age, it's tough. I get to Seattle before everybody else, and I got all this time, so I'm gonna leave. I'd never been to Seattle before, and all I knew is it's always like rainy and gloomy. That's what you always hear. When I get there, it's like 80 degrees, sun is shining, it's beautiful. And I walk out of the airport, I get in my Uber, and he starts taking me to downtown Seattle, and it's just beautiful. And I remember I'm like filming out the window, and I see the water, and we're coming up on all the buildings, and right about that time I get a phone call and basically find out that my grandmother is getting ready to pass away. And they're just giving her a matter of hours, basically. My whole demeanor changes, and my Uber driver says, that didn't sound good, is everything okay? And I had my sunglasses on, I'm kind of looking the other way, man. I just got tears start rolling down my eyes as I find out, that my grandmother is, just hours away from passing, and here I am all the way across the country, and then have plans to even go further away. Just all these emotions, all these things happening. So I kind of tell my Uber driver, and he takes me and drops me off, and I get out in the city, and there's like people everywhere, and there's music playing, and the sun is shining, and it's beautiful. And I just can't shake this, this emotion. So I went around for the next few hours with my sunglasses on and kind of my head down, just trying to enjoy the afternoon, and just had a tough time. I ended up going the rest of the way to Alaska, and just the next day my grandmother passed away, and ended up having to make the trip from Barrow, Alaska, which is the northernmost community in the U.S. It's the very northern tip of Alaska, back down through Anchorage, back through Seattle, and then back home to be at the funeral. The song was in me for a long time before I had kind of the courage to sit down to write it, because I thought about the irony of being in a city that's normally really gloomy and rainy, and I was there on the most beautiful day on record, but yet the whole time there was this dark cloud over me. So I had those lyrics for a long time. The sun is shining in Seattle, but there's this dark cloud over me. The sun is shining in Seattle, but this dark cloud follows me. I had that for months before I really had the courage to sit down and try to write it. And when I sat down and wrote it, it was a mess. I was a mess, let me put it that way. I couldn't even get through it. From a musical standpoint, the chord progression is you have that major, then you have the lift, and then the minor, that really dark minor. And the sun is shining in Seattle, it's all good. Don't get your hopes up though. Right down to that really harsh minor. That dark cloud is over me. I wish that I could say I was some sort of musical genius and I planned all of that, but I didn't even realize it till later. The second verse says, "It hurts so bad to see you on this phone." I actually FaceTimed with her, and I remember she was just laying over, just breathing heavy, couldn't even talk back to me. It says, "It hurts so bad to see you on this phone, struggling for breath. I never would have left if I had known." And you're trying to say that you love me one last time. My mom was telling her on the phone. My mom was telling her. Tell Jeremy you love him. you know, she was trying, but she didn't have the strength. She couldn't fight it through her breath, you know. This is the hardest part of the song to write. It says, "You're trying to say that you love me one last time. I see you trying as you lay there dying. Grandma, it's all right." That was our final interaction, but I knew she was trying. But it's all right, you know, and I wish I could tell her that, like, it's okay. I know you're trying, like, you don't have to say it. So apart from that, you know, the bridge is kind of what helps me cope with the whole situation. Even though we miss you so bad, we know you're so much better. You're not in pain anymore. You're in heaven. You know, she spent a good last few years of her life in a lot of pain, so she's not in that anymore. She's free from that, so. I want to go back to Seattle sometime. And hopefully not have that cloud hanging over my head.
The sun is shining in Seattle, shining in Seattle.